Mature content.
Listener discretion is advised.
Good morning, folks, and welcome to TV and Tarot Talk, the Walking Dead edition. This is episode 3, and in today's episode, we'll be exploring the Empress card. I am your host, Naya Thryce.
And I'm Meg Watson.
And thanks for tuning in. The aim of this podcast is to explore tarot in a chill, casual, and fun way through the lens of TV and pop culture. TV and tarot is meant to be a safe place to explore concepts, as stories and shows can serve as a shared experience to build an understanding from. This series is rated mature and might not be suitable for those under the age of 17. Listener discretion is advised. And for this Walking Dead series, we will only be covering the 22 major arcana cards and a few bonus episodes peppered in along the way before deep diving into another TV series. This is a rewatch spanning the whole of the Walking Dead universe, so spoilers ahead.
Spoiler alert.
Spoiler alert.
Warning.
Spoiler.
Some quick housekeeping, because I think we will be announced by the time this episode gets published. Struggling with getting established on Spotify, but it is coming. So for those of you that use Spotify, be a little bit patient. I'm working it out, but we are on all your other podcast catchers, so you should have no problem finding us there. Meg, any housekeeping items or anything?
I don't think so. I do have some spreads coming out for to go along with the podcast. Those are based on locations from The Walking Dead. So check those out on our Instagram at tarot_nerds.
Awesome. All right. So let's get into some of the key words for the Empress card. May, go ahead.
Okay, we have motherhood and sexuality, creation and procreation, emotion, fertility, the natural world, a passionate approach to life, sensuality, pleasure, nurturing, creativity, harmony, sensitivity, abundance and growth, openness and receptivity, smothering, self-indulgence, excessive emotional involvement, the connection between spirit and matter, inner and outer wealth and abundance, fruitfulness, and symmetry and chaos of the natural world, agriculture and cultivation.
Sure. And as a person, we have like motherhood, the goddess, pregnant women, managers, things like that. Astrological attribution is the planet Venus. All right. And because we love our time as much as you love yours, dear listeners, we're just going to get right on into it. All right, May, start us off with your first point.
Okay, so my first pick is maybe a little bit controversial because this character is only in one episode. But I feel like that episode is pretty darn pivotal to how things progress after that episode. So my pick for the Empress, number one pick, is Eastman the Cheesemaker.
The Cheesemaker.
Love that guy.
Yeah. I remember the first time watching when oh my goodness, when Gabriel asks Morgan where did he learn to do that, and he said a cheesemaker. It took me like I put on the subtitles because I was like, did he say, what did he say? It was really funny. Yeah. It's like, oh, clearly a cheesemaker. Yeah. Eastman. Okay. So go ahead and elaborate for us why you pick Eastman for Empress.
Well, we start off with Morgan going through his clearing phase, and he's having a time. And he actually wanders into this beautiful, light-filled, flowery meadow and has kind of a moment of calm. And then he hears Tabitha, and he follows the sound of this goat. And that's how he comes across Eastman's house. And there is something about that, the flowers and the moment and the animal calling to him that was just very Empressy to me. Also, the fact that Eastman has a goat and is taking care of it and raising it in the middle of the forest in order to make cheese.
Right. Hashtag Capricorn.
Yeah. He is peaceful and in a way that really celebrates life. He's got the garden. He's got the goat. When he takes out a walker, he buries them. He checks their ID and gives them a proper burial. Yeah. They get a marker with their name on it.
Right. Which doesn't happen.
Yeah.
At all.
Most of the show, they're like, we bury our people, we burn the dead. And that's not how Eastman does it. He's like, they were people.
Yeah. But he is pretty stationary too. So I think it makes more sense if they're kind of trickling in. He has the space and the time to actually do that.
Oh, for sure.
If you're on the road, I mean, what are you gonna do? No, but Eastman is a pivotal character too, because he teaches. He gives Morgan the book, The Art of Peace, to read, and with Venus being, like the planet that represents like harmony and stuff like that, I thought that Eastman teaching Morgan Aikido is basically what it is. So on Wikipedia, it says that the philosophy of Aikido is translated as the way of harmony or the way of peace, and it's a modern manifestation of Buddha that seeks to unite the mind, body, and spirit with the universal forces of nature. And paradoxically, Aikido is a non-violent martial art. And according to the founder's philosophy, the primary goal in the practice of it is to overcome oneself instead of cultivating violence or aggressiveness.
It's about redirecting.
Evading.
And actually caring about the welfare of your opponent.
So you have to care about yourself.
You have to believe your life is precious, that all life is precious.
You have to redirect those thoughts, the history that tells you otherwise.
What we've done, we've done.
We evaded by moving forward with a code to never do it again.
To make up for it.
To still accept what we were.
To accept everyone.
To protect everyone.
And in doing that, protect yourself.
To create peace.
So definitely Eastman.
Yeah.
A supporting point for your Eastman Empress.
We also have the fact that he was a forensic psychologist. So he's interested in how seeds are nurtured and what they grow into psychologically. And he talks about that he's interviewed like 800 people who are guilty of horrible, horrible crimes. And he's only ever met one truly evil person, Crichton Dallas Wilton. And Crichton Dallas Wilton kills Eastman's family. He breaks out of jail, kills his family, and then turns himself in because the entire purpose was to ruin Eastman's life. And so Eastman kidnaps him, and he starves him to death over the course of, as he says, 47 days. Now that's
horrible.
That's a long time. I mean, he built this whole cell for the purpose of putting this psycho in there and watching him die. But it's a passive way of killing somebody. You're withholding nourishment. You're not stabbing. You're not shooting. You're not, you know, it doesn't have,
letting nature take its course in terms of what happens if there's a lack of nutrition and stuff like that.
And it gave me very Demeter vibes. You know, after Persephone is taken to the underworld and Demeter searches for her but has no drive to continue growing crops to keep plants alive. She's just like in so much grief that she has no nurturance to give. And that's pretty much what Eastman's doing.
Yeah.
But all of that leads Eastman to realizing that didn't make him feel any better. That didn't solve anything. And that's what turns him. I mean, he learned Aikido before that, but that's what got him into the philosophy of it. And really embracing that, seeing the beauty in life and not just the death.
Right. And the idea that all life is precious.
And that people are the most important thing.
Right.
You know, he has that, it's not just surviving, you want to live. And what does living mean? And for everybody I have down for the Empress, loving is what living is. It's having people to care about.
True. Yeah, because even fast forwarding ahead a little bit, that's true because basically when Negan is locked up in the cell after so much time has passed, he's just broken because he has nothing to care for. He's really like, you know, he doesn't have Lucille. Like he gets all the time that he needs to like reflect on it and then realize that he's completely like alone. And that makes him like when Maggie comes for him, he's like, just do it. Put me out of my misery.
Yeah.
I have nothing to live for. So that's just, you know, like supporting that point of what does living mean? And it's about caring and nurturing and loving other people. Absolutely.
I mean, we see that time and time again on the show, that it's about the people. It's about having relationships and being interconnected.
And then also with Eastman starving, this guys, I guess we would probably want to speak about the agriculture and cultivation of land in this world. It's like one of the bigger, a different part of theme of the Empress where it's literally life or death.
Sorghum.
Hilltop, Alexandria, well, even going all the way back to the farm. And Alexandria, Hilltop, and Kingdom, they all farm and cultivate. And the Saviors do not. And even when they try, they can't because the earth around the compound is not fertile. And in terms of cultivation, because we talk about the natural world with the Empress card, but cultivation is more important because it does require a relationship between humans and plants to tend to the conditions that are required for the crops to grow. It's like,
and to know what the plants need to be able to intuit that.
Right. And so watching it, maintenance is important. for that. And like they start in the South, so I, just trying to like think of it like when they were in the farm and they were farming. I'm like, okay, that's probably not too bad. You have to deal with the extra summer heat, so you definitely need to have water to make sure things don't dry up. But when they move up to Alexandria, they get winters. So if they don't do those crops like sorghum and grains and things like that, their winters are going to be super hard. And you could just die from starvation just in general, besides everything else that's trying to kill them in this world. But also on the other side of that, you have foraging, which is another way of staying alive and living off of the land. So in season 1, Lori and I think Carol go searching for like wild mushrooms.
Yeah.
Right. And then Andrea and Amy go fishing in that season 2. But Darrow is very apt at foraging off the land. He,
so many
him and his crossbow, squirrels, snakes, worms, possum, the owl.
Oh, yeah.
Right? It's like, okay. But I mean, that's what foraging is. Foraging is not just plant-based, but it's the natural world, whatever is available.
And in this world, that includes canned goods that you can find.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. Because that's what's available. Oh my God. The episode where Rick and Daryl have the food truck, and they're fighting with Jesus.
Yes.
I was freaking out. I was like, what a waste of energy and time. And like, I don't know how much food that would have, like time wise, would have been. But it just, the truck goes on into the water. There's no coming back from that. I was like, that was a bad day. No bueno, man.
There was even the right toothpaste in there, too. Baking soda and spearmint.
My heart it's like going shopping and then the bag breaks on you and something breaks. It's just like, are you really, you can't go back to the store. You're ready to pay for it. It's just like time lost, money lost. I don't know, whatever. The natural. Oh, and something else too. I want to say at least previous to the getting to Alexandria, really and truly, who was doing the landscaping? Yeah. Because have you ever, in the summertime,
that grass should be like 4 feet taller.
Seriously. Like everywhere that they're walking through and just out there in the bush or whatever, like there's no way that we'd be able to see anything and not be getting bit alive by bugs.
Yeah.
Honestly, it's like, what? All right. That's the end of my agricultural cultivation point. What you got next?
Well, we could dive right into Michonne.
Let's do it.
Okay. So she's definitely in that, grief-stricken Demeter mode after her son's death. That's when she gets her 2 armless walkers and just kind of goes off on her own. Just can't people anymore.
Yeah.
And it's really Judith, that baby Judith, that kind of brings her back to reality. That when she hears Judith crying and Beth is like, oh, she spit up on me. Can you hold her for a second? And Michonne's like, what? No. And then does hold her and just starts crying.
Yeah, she lets it go.
Yeah. And then ends up becoming Judith's mom.
Yeah.
So that's kind of beautiful. And she and Carl have such a close relationship, just almost from the very beginning. After the suspicion at the prison, once she kind of proves herself to the group.
Yeah. Yeah, her and Carl's relationship is really like, they're tight.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, she helps Carl get the photo of Lori from the restaurant.
Yeah, and the baby, and the crib, right?
Yeah. She's the one who brings the formula to the prison after Glenn and Maggie are kidnapped by the people at Woodbury.
Right.
So, I mean, her intro to the group is like, here's some nourishment for your baby.
Right. Yeah, definitely. Mother, like, she saw what they had and
Yeah, I mean, there's only one thing you're going to do with baby formula.
Right. The instinct was, okay, there's a baby alive that needs food.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, in a way, kind of mothering Andrea, too, who is going through her own grief after her sister's death and being abandoned by everybody at the farm. Not intentionally, but...
Sure. And Andrea was sick, too, so she was taking care of her. Yeah. And then also later on, too, right, she's gets pregnant. She's pregnant with RJ and has RJ.
And there's also just Michonne kind of being a mother figure to everybody on Team Rick. And especially once they get to Alexandria and they're kind of like figuring out their place in things. And she's like, this is us. We are all one group now. Like she's the one kind of pushing that.
Yeah, she's trying to synergize that when Rick is very much still in like this military us-them mode. She's like, we have to make this our home and these are our people. And Michonne being the Empress, then definitely Rick is the Emperor, right? And all that kind of moves forward. And even though that she also has... her leadership style. I think it's also interesting that Michonne also becomes the head of security after Rick goes missing.
Oh, yeah.
And security, I feel that's a very, like, I guess, earthy in terms of, like, it's a practical theme that kind of can come from it. It's like the protecting and the nurturance, and she goes a little overboard. But it's about protecting what they all have grown and have built and all that kind of stuff.
Well, and that's such an easy thing for Empress energy to do, is to go overboard, to kind of say that, you know, this thing needs protecting and now I'm going to smother it.
Yeah. Nature could just get wild too. Because something else, not to digress too much from Michonne, the point of Michonne, but the natural world or the landscape of the world is like, the zombies are like weeds. It's like they're part of the natural world. No matter how many you get rid of in a season, the next season they come back again with a vengeance. You know, and also from the bird's eye view, we get like patterns of the natural world, like the symmetries, and the fractals and the spirals and the weight, like just how they move, like as hordes and stuff.
Yeah.
They essentially become part of the background. As we move on to the show, it's like a little bit, it could feel redundant because this is just a fixture in the world now.
I mean, they get to the point where, you know, there are walkers in their general direction and they're like, no, I don't have to worry about that one. And they just keep walking.
Right. And I also thought that it was interesting too, because in Tales of the Walking Dead, there's that one episode with the scientist.
Oh, I love that one.
Who says it's fine that the walkers are a part of the world now. This is just the world that we live in, but it only gets messed up when humans try to interfere. And then things fall apart. Something to that effect. I'm sorry, I did not watch that episode just recently enough, but...
Yeah, he's talking about like, the way that they move and the patterns of their behavior and how it all makes sense. You can study it, you can understand it, you can predict it. Right. But humans, no, you can't really predict what humans are going to do.
Right. And that this particular horde that he's been studying have been moving a certain kind of way, and then when that one girl and her group come into it is what throws it all off. It throws it all out of whack.
It's a closed ecosystem that he's studying. They're
correct.
They're all corralled in, and they have no way to escape the area that he's studying. And then humans come in, and suddenly it's all a mess.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm sorry, I didn't mean to like detract.
Oh no, that was a great point.
From Michonne there.
And the understanding of that sort of motherly relationship when it comes to other people. The way that Michonne follows Spencer as he's going out to try to find his dead mom wandering around in the woods so that he can be the one to kill her and bury her and, say a proper goodbye. And Carl's the one who ends up finding her and leads her to Spencer.
She left me a note. She said, I still knew my way. I never knew my way.
You loved your family?
Yeah.
Then you know your way. It's home.
They're gone.
I've been out here chasing you all over the woods. You still got family. You still got a home.
Carl's conversation with Michonne about that, and when she's like, why would you do that? Why wouldn't you just take her out? Like, letting her wander around. And Carl's like, it should be someone who loved her, someone who's family. It's what I would do for you. And Michonne immediately is like, me too. And it's this understanding of, yeah, that's how you care for people. That it's not just in the nurturing, it's in the how you lovingly say goodbye.
Yeah, that was a pretty powerful moment too, because you don't realize as an audience that you got conditioned that way until they like say it, because we're still in that weird phase with the people from Alexandria not really knowing how it is out there.
Yeah.
Or how to deal with that. So for Spencer, it's like his first time having to maybe deal with something like that. And of course, it's going to be extra hard because it is his mother. So.
Well, and he's just been such a dumbass up to that point.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, but I think that was Rick's point all of most of season 6 is like, you guys are not ready. You guys are not, really seeing what needs to be done, even though it might be painful. It's just like, it's like rip off the Band-Aid now.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, it's, I don't know. You just can't live in make-believe.
Yeah.
And that's kind of how they had the wool over their eyes, I guess. I don't know.
Well, that's
I don't know how to explain.
A good juxtaposition of the Emperor and the Empress, that Rick is very like, they can't do it. And Michonne is like, give them a chance to learn.
Yeah, for sure.
Figure it out. Just be the example.
Right. She says, something's going to happen, but don't make it happen.
Yeah. Which
is her saying that the natural world order is going to show them.
Yeah.
Don't be causing up more trouble, Rick. What is wrong with you, man? Any other points you could think of or any other sub points you could think of for Michonne?
No, I don't think so. I think that's all my notes.
Agriculture and cultivation. We do have all the places, who do gardens and stuff like that, but Hilltop becomes like the primary producer of crops and things. And eventually Maggie becomes the leader over at Hilltop and becomes the prime source for sustenance. And when the other communities are struggling, they end up going to her and asking her for trades and stuff like that, so that they can live off of the land as well, which gives her power,
Yeah.
and that she, right, master farmer. I mean, I don't know what else to say. She grew up on a farm. What are you going to do? So it's kind of cool, but also the struggle is real. Yeah. If anybody has ever tried to grow a dang on garden, let me tell you.
Well, when she first gets to Hilltop and she's having that conversation with Gregory and he's like, what do you grow? And she's like, tomatoes, cucumbers. And he's like, no, like grains, like what's your like sustenance? And Jesus mentions sorghum that they're growing that there, which is hilarious. I love that keeps coming up.
Yeah, but the garden definitely expands after Maggie takes over.
Oh, for sure.
So that growth aspect and stuff like that, Gregory is no damn help.
Well, and it's not like he's the one growing any of it. Fuck Gregory.
Yeah, he's the worst. And then he calls her everything else but Maggie. Listen, he's such a slappable face, man. right when they meet in the beginning.
Well, it's so funny because I love Xander Berkeley, the actor. Every time you
Yeah.
see him in anything, you're like, oh, I know I'm going to hate you. I don't even know who you are yet, and I know I'm going to hate you.
Oh man, it's good stuff. But yeah, I do love the growth of the hilltop. Like when you get those aerial shots.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That it was just so satisfying.
Well, like they put the windmill in, and they've got the solar panels. They're all very self-sustaining.
Yeah, that's important. What was I thinking about? Oh, and then I thought it was interesting that because the kingdom also does gardening too, but they use all kinds of different containers, tires, file cabinets. But they have a lot of space. It's just they had to work with the space they had, which I just thought it was pretty innovative. You know, you could turn anything into a flower, flower pot or whatever. I was like, oh, that's actually pretty cool. And then,
there's the fact that Hilltop has not just a doctor, an obstetrician.
Oh yeah, the OBGYN. Yeah, we know Maggie because Maggie has Herschel there.
Yeah, because Glenn saves the doctor, and then when they're getting him back to Hilltop, and they're saying, oh, you're a doctor, do you have any prenatal vitamins in there? And he's like, well, it just so happens I'm an obstetrician and you saved my life, so I kind of owe you.
Right.
Not a bad place to be.
No, not at all. I think they yada-yada'd over Michonne's birth.
Oh, they totally did. I think it was like she was pregnant, and then all of a sudden there's RJ.
Oh, right. We had the 6-year jump.
Yeah.
Right. Oh, okay. And then they did flashbacks to show that when she was pregnant. Okay. Yep. But I'm like, who do they have? OBGYN? Oh, well, Enid was studying.
Yeah.
To be a doctor at Hilltop. So that makes sense. Okay. Hilltop for the win.
Seriously.
So, of course, we could talk about all the mothers in the show. List them out. Like, Lori leaves her mark because she has Carl and Judith. Carol's natural child is Sophia. And we talked a whole lot about her in the last episode. But she has the motherly instincts of protection. We just talked about Maggie as the farmer's daughter. Oh, yeah, Maggie delivers Judith.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
She takes Enid under her wing and nurtures her like a little sister.
Yeah.
And then, of course, she's the mother to little Herschel. I also think of Thryce as a nurturer.
Yes, absolutely.
Like, he's all about taking care of the kids.
Well, and he doesn't like clearing walkers from the fence. He doesn't like going out on runs. He doesn't like being around all the death.
Yeah, he doesn't. He just wants to nurture what's there, protect it if need be, but he don't want to fight.
Yeah. I mean, when they're at the Grove and Mika is like, we could just stay here. And he's like, yeah, we really could.
We're just going to live off of these pecans. Is it pecans?
Yeah.
Yeah, we're just going to live off of these pecans, man. It's cool. Yeah, and I mean, even when they first get into the prison and he's trying to talk with Herschel, and that's at that point when it was still a dictatorship. So Herschel couldn't really make the decision to keep them there. Even though he wanted to, he could tell that Thryce, he's like, no, we'll take care of our own. We'll do what we have to do for ourselves. He just knows that there was a strength in numbers. But in most cases, Thryce tried to like squash fights and find. Oh, as a matter of fact, one of the episodes around Grady Memorial, right? Rick wants to go in and storm Grady Memorial Hospital. And Thryce is the one who gives the idea of doing a trade.
Yeah.
And says, we have 2 of theirs. They have 2 of ours. Let's, we can resolve this peacefully.
And at Terminus, too, when Carol's going to go off and do her thing, and he's taking care of Judith in that little hut, and he gets one of the guys from Terminus is, like, trapped in there with him, and he can't kill him. Even though this guy is, like, threatening to kill Judith. He can't do it.
He had to be pushed all the way for him to do it. Did he? He did do it though,
No,
right?
he let him go.
Well, he let the zombie.
And then he comes back, and that's when they kidnap Bob.
Oh, yeah. He couldn't even.
He just could not do it. But he told everybody that he did, which got awkward.
Yeah, I think that's why. I was like, wait. Yeah, it's true. There was not. And he's not even a good shot either.
Yeah.
Yeah, Sasha used to say, you're not even a good shot, man. Love Thryce so much.
So much.
Yeah. Yeah.
That was another really, really hard one.
Oh, yeah, it was. And he gets bit because he saw, I'm trying to remember exactly what it was, but essentially the walker he got bit by was a kid. Mm-hmm. And kids are his soft spot.
Yep.
R.I.P. Thryce. Should be saying that about a lot of characters, but in terms of...
it's going to get a lot worse. We're getting to that point in the rewatch.
Yeah. You know, that energy for sure. So other mothers, so Rosita has Coco with Sadiq. Mm-hmm. Nabila and Jerry's babies.
Oh, I love that family.
Yeah, and Aaron
and Gracie. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. With which
Aaron's got some great Empress energy. He is going out and finding people to bring into the community to, get that family together. Mm-hmm. He's the one who really latches onto Daryl of all the Alexandrians.
Yeah, he definitely nurtures Daryl to whatever degree. Mm-hmm. He's also another one, he knows he has to when he's out there that he has to kind of fight the walkers. But otherwise he really doesn't want to have to fight people.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, the whole outpost raid, was Aaron in there?
Oh, he was in the car with Tara and Jesus waiting outside.
So they were outside.
Yeah.
Okay. It's not until much later that Aaron has a little ragey moment. And that has to do with the whispers, right? Mm-hmm. But up until that point, he's very much all about providing and expanding the communities to that growth aspect, mm-hmm. for sure.
And taking care of Maggie. Mm-hmm. When she finds out that she's pregnant, and she's got to go try to find Glenn. Mm-hmm. And he's the one who's like, okay, I understand that you need to go do this. Can we at least just do it smart? Let's go underground rather than over the wall. And then they have that kind of bonding experience in the sewers. And that's what convinces her to not go out looking for Glenn. Okay, I actually am needed here. There isn't really anything I can do out there. And
mm-hmm.
I'm pregnant. I should probably be more careful.
Right.
Yeah, and then the way that he helps support her on the way to Hilltop right before we lose Glenn and Abraham.
Yeah.
He's one of the first volunteers. I'm getting on the RV. I'm helping get you to Hilltop.
Yeah.
And then after Glenn dies and Maggie's I'm going to take his body home so we can bury him. And she's like, I need to do this. And Aaron says, you need to let us help you. We need to do this too. He was our family too.
Oh.
Yeah. Oh, I cried.
That whole scene.
I cried all over again.
The whole scene, man. Yeah.
Yeah. For listeners, I had to pause for about 3-4 days on the rewatch because I hit that episode and was like, I'm not ready for this. Then if I'm going to do it, I need to go and do it with the buddy system. So I made Naya watch it with me.
Yeah, and what we're talking about is the last season, the last episode of season 6 and the first episode of season 7. And anybody who's watched, you probably know what we're talking about there. Oh yeah, but that when Team Rick is all by themselves after it's all done, and that part that you're talking about, he's our family too. I'm like, man, these actors are making me tear up,
mm-hmm.
And it's just, it's hard because, anyways, we're talking about growth and stuff. Anyways, there was a lot of love there. There was a shared trauma. Let's move on until we get to that to that episode.
My point was coming back to the same kind of deal with Spencer taking care of Deanna,
right?
Of that respect for the natural order of things and honoring the dead.
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
And, you know, Eastman has that too. So I feel like that's a very Empress-y vibe.
Oh, man. And then when Sasha looks at Rosita and she's like, I'm going to take him. I was just like, yeah, dude, that is such a loaded statement.
Yeah.
So loaded. But Rosita gives the nod, you know? Mm-hmm. And just like you said, it's the respect of the order of things. And she's like, he wanted to be with her anyways, you know?
Yeah.
Okay.
We'll get into so much of that for the Lover's card, though. I have so much to say about that.
Yeah. So in terms of the theme of creation, I mean, I guess we kind of talked about it a little bit, but Team Rick, you know, they just keep expanding their family from strangers. Mm-hmm. You know, regardless of who brings the person in, they're all part of that family, and they trust each other's words to know that, hey, if they're your friend, they're my friend too, kind of thing. Yeah. But those friends become family over time, and they're all willing to risk their lives for each other, mm-hmm. if to save them if need be, and things of that sort. So
yeah, even when they've been through situations where they didn't trust somebody or somebody lost trust, that ability to try again. You know, I'm thinking of Gabriel and all of the stuff that he goes through at the church, and then when they first get to Alexandria, and by the time the quarry walkers break down the wall, mm-hmm. he's the one who takes Judith. He's like, I will protect this child. And Rick is like, I know you will.
Yeah. His took a long time to get there, but he definitely becomes family. Mm-hmm. Man, and Glenn is so much bigger than me with Nick.
Oh my God, yeah.
He keeps trying to save this person. Like,
I would have left him out in the woods the first time. I would have been like, screw this.
And but that's a big point of like Glenn's character. Like, mm-hmm. he does not have like a malevolent bone in his body. It's a living, breathing person. It's almost like, you know, all life is precious.
Yeah.
Without him having to mantra it. Yeah. That is just how he is naturally. And but yeah, remember Nick was just like, I'm just like, Glenn, come on, man. Yeah. What are you doing? You know, this guy is clearly just not. He tried. He really did.
Yeah.
He gets my respect for that, for sure. Because he was trying to teach him. He was trying to bring him in and trying to, you know, make the family bigger. Because, I mean, like you said, we had Gabriel, who was very cowardly at first. But he turned around. He had to find it within himself, but he did, you know.
Yeah, Glenn understands that that's like that growth and that turnaround is possible, just not for everybody. But he has that hope that it'll work for you. It'll work for you, like on an individual basis.
Right. See, he's like the cultivator of the people. Mm-hmm. You know, if you you know, peppers need this much time to grow and tomatoes need that much time to grow. And he knows that some people need more attention and care than others. And he's the person who kind of does that a little bit. Tara too.
Yeah.
I think
Tara consistently puts herself at risk without ever really thinking about it. Just like her first reaction is jump in and help. You know, like when Spencer's doing his weird acrobatics thing, trying to get over the wall, and she's like, just starts climbing over and trying to help him.
Yeah, and then natural instinct.
And then Rick yells at her, and she's like, "What the hell?"
Yeah, I think she flicks him off too.
Yeah.
Which is pretty great. She also gives Denise encouragement that she can do the surgeon thing.
Yeah.
And without that little bit of nurturance and that push,
it's such a gentle push too. It's very guiding rather than pushing, you know.
Yeah, it's very loving and definitely kind of
like you can find your way. I know you can. And then Denise does.
Yeah, and when she does, it is at a pivotal point because Carl could have died from the gunshot wound to his eye.
Mm-hmm.
So with Tara's assistance, Denise is able to use the skills that she did have and put that mindset on that she can do it, and and she ends up saving Carl. See, this is the little circle of trust and creation and harmony that the Empress is all about, you know?
Yeah.
And then we also have, as a broad stroke, just the recreation of the community culture in Alexandria to be more prepared for the chaos of the natural world.
Mm-hmm.
Just watch all of season 6, you'll see. And
it is a juicy season.
Yeah, and to really learn what having each other's back means, what that really means, and what the nuances of that is even like, you know. So it's a recreation of the mindset of the team, I guess. And then season 7 is also a recreation by a different outside force. But we need a season 6 recreation in order to then, I want to say, season 8 it out. See, it's like I know there's spoilers in here, but I'm trying to stay on track. So
well, like I don't want to start talking about stuff that I haven't gotten to on the rewatch yet because I feel like I'm a little fuzzy on some of it.
Yeah, that's why I'd be like, if anything, just try to broad stroke it.
Yeah,
if it pops up in my head. But yeah, and then I know we haven't gotten that far yet, but also after, so you got season 6, the Alexandria forging of the community or recreation of the community. Season 7 kind of knocks that down. Season 8 is fighting for that thing. And when we get to the other side of that, there's the recreation of the Negan savior regime to Team Rick's one of love and kindness and all life is precious kind of. And, you know, the living need to fight the undead, basically. And that's where we all should be, not fighting each other and killing each other.
And the symmetry of Eastman building a cell in order to starve someone to death, and then Morgan building a cell in order to prevent Negan from being killed by the community, to keep him alive.
Right. Which circles it all the way back around. Like you were saying, that Eastman episode is it's very pivotal.
Like that changes Morgan's entire outlook, and then that changes everything from there. Like Morgan immediately bonds with King Ezekiel because they are very much on the same page about all of that.
Right. I love King Ezekiel
so much.
He's so grandiose, man.
Like you can definitely tell Kari Payton plays D&D.
It's so great. So I think I'm actually out of written points for the Empress. Do you have anything else?
Obviously I can talk about Carol. I can pretty much talk about Carol for almost any card. There's this scene in season 6 when she's talking to Tobin, and he says, "You're a mom. It's not the cookies or the smiles. It's the hard stuff, the scary stuff. It's how you can do it. Strength. You're a mom to most of the people here." And that's true. I mean, she goes a little overboard in the protective area sometimes. But that's, you know, part of the Empress energy, and part of that kind of split between the High Priestess and the Empress, that they carry a lot of the same energy, whether that's upright or reversed or ill-dignified or however you want to look at it. They're kind of two sides of the same coin. And Carol exhibits both sides at different points.
Most definitely.
And it's the fact that she doesn't want to kill that leads her to abandon everybody, to leave.
I wish it didn't have to end. Not this way. It was never my intention to hurt you. But it's how it has to be. We have so much here. People, food, medicine, walls. Everything we need to live. But what we have, other people want too. And that won't ever change. If we survive this threat and it's not over, another one will be back to take its place, to take what we have. I love you all here. I do. And I'd have to kill for you. And I can't. I won't.
Yeah, she says that in her goodbye letter. She's like, I love you all here, but I'd have to kill for you, and I can't.
Right. And Morgan is on that same that same way of, again, not wanting to kill, wanting to preserve life.
But also wanting to be a part of life. Like, Carol's just so terrified of losing more people.
It's hard. And
knowing that that's an inevitability in this universe. And Morgan is like, but, you know, people are what keeps us going. It's that loving is living thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think especially at that point, it's just like she probably just felt like she just hadn't really had time to grieve.
Yeah.
And that is debilitating.
Yeah. Well, and then the fact that she takes that time in the cottage, that it's in a cemetery. Like, she's got all the space and the time to grieve, and that's what that space is for.
Mm-hmm.
And taking care of herself for the first time in a while.
Yeah.
She really hasn't done a lot of self-nurturing. She's been so busy taking care of everybody else and...
Yeah. And playing homemaker Carol, and, you know, undercover agent and all that fun stuff. Yeah, the den mother, for sure. Mm-hmm. Even when she's in that house, let me see, because Morgan understands, right? He was all isolated by himself, mm-hmm. trying to grieve and stuff, but he understands what needing that alone time is also like once he did. Like, when he gets with Eastman, mm-hmm. he's still in that clear mindset.
Yeah.
You know, he has to explain to Eastman, what does clear mean? It's to kill everything. Walker's people, doesn't matter. Just clear the area.
Yep.
Because that's what this world is now. And this is his one-track mind. But Eastman gives him a different philosophy to follow. So he finds peace with that. And he's able to take that peace and give a little bit of that to Carol and understand where she's at mentally. Mm-hmm. It's like, okay, you need a break. And being in the house is almost like being in the cage with the door open.
Yeah.
Because Eastman said as much to Morgan. Because Morgan was like trying to break out of the window.
Oh my God, that made me laugh so hard. Because it was like when God shuts a door, he opens a window. And here's Morgan like working away at the window and the door's not freaking locked.
Right. Right. And it's just like the mindset. And then even though he knows that, he opens the door and he kind of fights a little bit. But once he gets over that little bit, he sits in the cage and he just knows the door is open. But he sits there because he needs the time.
Yeah.
To not have to fight. Because in this world, I mean.
But he pulls the door shut and then Eastman walks over and opens it again. Like, no. It's still open. Like,
yeah.
This is all your choice to be in this mental cage.
Right. But that's kind of, you know, like, you know, juxtaposed to Carol going into that house by herself. Sure. She needs the time to be alone and isolated and not bothered by walkers or people or
Yeah.
or anything, just some decompression time.
Well, and it's Ezekiel who's like, what if you're here but also not here?
Yeah.
You know, that and that plays right into what Morgan is saying about, I understand you don't want to kill, but you still need to have people. That's what matters.
Yeah. If in that moment Morgan is the harmony, then Ezekiel is the love, because he was so hitting on Carol so hard.
From like the jump. Like,
yeah.
He's when he offers her the pomegranate and she's like, oh, I don't really like pomegranates. And he's like, oh, the sweet fruit surrounded by the bitter. It's a juxtaposition or a contradiction in terms, but heaven for the effort. And you're like, you don't even realize that you're hitting on Carol, and you are totally hitting on Carol.
Where are my manners? Please partake. We have magnificent apples, nectarines, pomegranates, all grown right here inside the kingdom.
It's fruit time.
I couldn't.
Oh, come now. At least take a pomegranate.
I always found them too much trouble.
Sweet fruit surrounded by bitter. There's something of a contradiction, but heaven for the effort.
Park some chocolate in front of me and watch it go bye-bye, but pomegranates, it's just not for me, thanks.
Well, if there's anything you want or need, if you enjoy music, we have a guitarist whose talent brings tears to the eye, and we have a small choir.
Thank you. All I need is some more rest. And maybe a hairbrush. No one told me I'd be meeting royalty. Anyway, Your Majesty. I should call you Your Majesty, right?
You can.
Thank you, Your Majesty. It's a pleasure.
The pleasure is mine, Carol. Be well.
Edit to say, so flirty. Oh my God. All the Empress vibes, seriously.
I mean, I could definitely make some points for Ezekiel and the Empress, but I have like 2 pages of notes for him for the strength card.
We'll hold
so
off.
Off.
It's a different nuance of the theme. Yeah, for sure. All right. Well, I'm all out of points. All right.
Me too.
Since we are all out of points, lovely community discussion question. Where do you see natural growth in the show, or are there other ways that harmony is displayed or represented in the show, or other symbols or points that we maybe not have mentioned? Let us know. We want to hear from you. You can send us an email at podcasttarotnerds@gmail.com. Or you can make a comment in our post in Facebook discussion post. So now that we're announced, don't forget to subscribe so you know when we upload a new episode. We could be found on most of your pod catchers, and additional information for this episode can be found on our website, tarotnerds.com, in case you want a quick reference of the topics discussed. And don't forget to sign up for the newsletter. Next episode, we will be talking about the Emperor. And with that, we hope that you found this episode insightful and fun. Thank you for listening to TV and Tarot Talk. And no matter where you are, don't forget to take some time out of your week to chill, chat, and tarot.
Tarot.
Catch you on the next episode. Peace.